Alright, I just want to make a presentation about Mewgenics because this is a game that I'm really looking forward to, I'm super hyped for, and I'm not seeing that much content be made about it, which I think might mean some people just don't know about it, don't know it's coming out. 10th of February 2026, wishlist on Steam. So I thought I'd make a presentation kind of just explaining the basics of the game in this first video, and maybe in the future I'll make more presentations going more in depth in some aspects of the game, because this game's got a lot. But first we need to understand what is Mewgenics. Well, the creator of the game, Edmund McMillen, described it as chess with thousands of pieces, and each piece has a bunch of unique abilities that combo in very interesting ways, and you're scared to draw off your pieces. Now, if you understand that, that's great, but I feel like you need a deeper understanding than just that. He has also made some playthroughs of the game, which are really good, so I think you should check those out, and that's also honestly a good way to understand the game, getting to see someone else play it. This video was trying to skim through all the different points about this game, but not going super in detail in any. Alright, well, this is where you start, the house. You start by getting 4 cats from Dr. Beanie's, and then you'll be able to collect stray cats from outside, as you can see one guy right here. And then these cats need 1 food each day. You can pass the day by pressing end day. They need 1 food each day, or eventually they'll die. Now the best way to get food is go out on adventures. You need 4 cats for an adventure. You put them in the adventure box. And then when you start an adventure, the first thing you'll do is select a cat's collars. This is basically the class of the cat, and they each have unique actives and stat increases and decreases. You start with the fighter, hunter, mage, and tank classes, and then obviously you can see some of these are blank. I've heard there's more than 10. There's 9 spaces here. We know about a few more, maybe I'll go over that in a future video, but these are the 4 you start with. You can keep a cat collarless, but that's not advised and it will make your runs a lot harder, but you can do that. So, as I said, these classes will affect a cat's stats. These are all the stats one individual cat will have: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, speed, charisma, and luck. You can pause, go over these. But strength is just how much damage you'll do, dexterity is how much damage your range attacks will do, constitution how much health you got, intelligence is how much mana you'll regenerate, speed is how many tiles you can move, charisma is how much max mana a cat can have, and luck affects anything that involves luck or like probabilities. I put a bit more detail on here, you can pause and read through that, but that's the basics. And now the 4 classes you start with: fighter gives +2 strength, +1 speed, -1 intelligence; hunter, +3 dexterity, +2 luck, -2 speed, -1 constitution; mage, +2 intelligence, +2 charisma, -1 strength, -1 constitution; tank, +4 constitution, -1 dexterity, -1 intelligence. So if one of your starting cats is kind of good in one stat, obviously I said back here the average is 5, but some of your cats will be good in one stat already and bad in another stat, so you can lean into that with the classes you pick for that cat, kind of lean into the strengths it already has. So after that, you'll start your adventure in the alley, which is in chapter 1. There's multiple locations for each chapter. The one you'll start out with is the alley in chapter 1, but there's multiple different locations for chapter 1. The map is randomly generated, and each icon obviously means something different in your adventure. There's fight, mini bosses, treasure, events, bosses, and shops. We'll start with fighting because that's the main one, that's what you'll spend most of your time doing. It's turn-based fighting. The turn order is based on your cat's speed stat. The turn order is up here, so a faster cat will move first, and then faster enemies, and then your slow cats will be right at the end. So in an individual cat's turn, they can move, which is dependent on their individual speed stat, how many tiles they can move. They can use a basic attack, and how much damage that will do is dependent on their strength. They can use their collarless ability, which they start with when they are born, dependent on their parents, but we'll get into that a bit later. And then also their starting class ability, which they gain once you select their class at the beginning. these both cost mana. They also have a passive ability that doesn't cost any mana, but is always affecting them. And then after each fight, one of your cats in your party will level up. Leveling up works like this. Level 2, you gain a new active ability. Level 3, gain a new passive ability. Level 4, you gain +2 to one stat. You get to choose which one. Level 5, you gain a new active ability. Level 6, upgrade an active ability. So you get to choose these out of 4 options when you gain new active or a passive. Upgrading basically just upgrades the effect of that ability. So maybe one attack will do more damage once you upgrade it. And then any level above this is rare because there's not enough fights in the chapters that you'll be going through to level up that far if you still have a party of 4 cats. But if one of your cat dies, then the levels obviously just be shared between 3 cats instead of 4, which means that the 3 cats you have can level up further. And these bonuses for these levels past 6 haven't been revealed, but presumably they're pretty good. And then there's mini bosses you counter in the middle of a chapter. They're weaker than bosses, but stronger than regular enemies, obviously, right? Self-explanatory. And then bosses, obviously, the strongest enemy that you'll fight in a chapter. And they have unique abilities, and you encounter this at the end of a chapter. And then there's events. Now, these come in different forms. There's blessings, tragedies, weather events, choose your fate events. These are usually given by NPCs. And then there's skill events. These are determined by your cat's specific stats. And there's 4 outcomes. You can either succeed, fail, critically succeed, or critically fail. You can see an example here. This cat has 3 options. They can either eat, examine, or loot. And the outcome of this is dependent on the cat's stats. So there's 8 dexterity, 6 intelligence, and 3 constitution. So you should probably choose dexterity or loot. You'll also find treasures. These give an item uncommon to ultra rare, and then shops. You can buy items with coins you gain on your adventure. Each chapter usually features 1. So we'll go further in detail on items now. They're gained from events, treasure shops, and based on how well you did in a fight, you'll gain an item depending on that. Items come in multiple forms: weapons, trinkets, which have 3 different types. There's passive, multi-use, and consumables. And armor, which come in 3 types: head, face, and neck. And these can have set bonuses, which give an extra buff once they're all worn by one cat. Mailboxes can also be found in adventures, so you can send items back home. There's also another type of item, which is furniture, which is a bit different. These are mainly purchased from Jack Shack, and these affect your house's stats, which are comfort, which makes cats more likely to have kittens each day. And they can also make aggressive cats more manageable. This is also affected by if a room is crowded or dirty. Furniture can also affect stimulation, which makes kittens more likely to inherit the higher stats, mutations, and class abilities of their parents. This is how you get multi-classing, which is sounding like kind of the in-depth part of Mewgenics, the part that leads to a bunch of different ways to play this game, because you can have a cat which has a class ability from their parent, but that doesn't mean you have to select that class with that kitten. So you could have a fighter active on a tank, and that can lead to some really overpowered cats. And then there's also appeal, which makes stronger strays with special active and passive abilities more likely to appear outside the house. So returning to the house after your adventure, there's a few things you can do in the house. Obviously, putting furniture in there, but there's also houses, all of your cats. The size of your house can be increased to fit more cats in and more furniture in. And we mentioned this before, but your house has a storage where you can fit items in. This is how you can collect items to maybe get a set bonus for one of your cats. Otherwise, finding them in an adventure would be kind of unlikely. So this can be upgraded as well. You can examine your cats, as seen here. This shows stats, abilities, afflictions. You can also access the map here. We don't know the purpose of all of these shops here. We might just need to wait until the game comes out to find that out. And then also in the cat, you can pass days. You lose 1 food per cat in the house. This is also when cats will make babies or even get into fights. You know, when we're talking about aggressive cats, that's probably what they'll be doing. And then that's it. That's the basics of Mewgenics. This is where I got all my information from. Edmund McMillen's YouTube videos, the Mewgenics Steam page. This has monthly updates and it's been going since 2023. And also the Mewgenics wiki, which compiles a lot of that and everything else people have learned through Twitter updates and whatever, and puts it in one easy location. These are all linked in the description. And that's it. Go Wishlist Mewgenics comes out 10th of February 2026.